280mm of penetration, is going to struggle against some of the tanks, but luckily it's AP, so the AP shells get good normalization, which helps with the angles that you hit the tanks from. World of Tanks A to Z. Hello guys and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video we'll be looking at the AMX M4 French tier 10 heavy tank, and this tank is very interesting. Why is it so interesting? Why is it so underrated? Well, watch the video. Guys, those of you that are new and are not familiar with what I do here, we are basically reviewing every single tier 10 tank in the World of Tanks A to Z series, except reward tanks. So right now we are looking at the AMX M4 tier 10 heavy, and without further ado, actually let's look at all the stats and all the capabilities that this tank has to offer. Now, I was contemplating when I was playing this tank which gun should I play with, the 120mm or the 130mm, but I went ahead and I compared the 120mm to the gun of the S-Conk and the E5, and the DPM is just very bad. 8.2 to reload for 400 alpha. That is very bad at tier 10. You do not want to use this gun because the big gun is absolutely devastating. The big gun, I was incredibly surprised by the goodness of the gun handling that this tank had when I was playing it, and as you can see, the DPM is only lower by 100 at the extra 160 alpha that it gives you. Now, so 2.8k DPM for with that alpha damage, it's actually much worse than an EVA 100. I don't know why anyone would play this tank over the EVA 100, because EVA 100 is more armored and packs much more punch than this guy. Now you also have 12-second reload time. I mean, that's pretty bad, as I said. Now you have two shells with the 130mm. You have a 560 shell with 250mm of penetration and 840 velocity. It's very bad for tier 10. But the premium shells are also not that much worse. You only get an extra 30 penetration at the cost of 3,600 credits, which is not great, honestly. Velocity is also kind of bad. It's very slow, it's very hard to snipe. The HE damage is also 640, it's not even that much more than the normal shell. But aiming time 2 seconds, and I actually went ahead and equipped this tank. Usually, I tried playing without verse stabs because I wanted to make this tank stand out as a kind of fast, super heavy. And it actually kind of worked because the dispersion stats are actually really good, and you don't really need verse stabs. Like if I would equip this, they don't change that much, right? Because the percentile is not that huge, and it's honestly, it's a waste of a slot in my opinion. So in case you do not have access to a bone turbo, you can also just get the field modification here, take the mobility slot and put the turbo in the middle. And if I was playing with HP, turbo and rammer, coffee, ramming directive, the field modifications were left, right. So extra maintaining speed, extra aiming circle accuracy, plus view range, plus 2 top reverse speed, which is very useful for getting away from combats, and also minus 4% dispersion during call travers and during movement. Just a little mitigation to the lack of the verse stabs. Now, as you can see, the dispersion factors are pretty good actually. The gun handling was really smooth. I thought this tank has much worse gun handling, honestly. 46 top speed, that's really good. You can get this massive chunk of meat, which essentially it is, into fast into the battle. 21 reverse speed, that's really healthy for disengaging scenarios. 19 power to weight ratio, I believe that's one of the best actually at tier 10 for heavy tanks. It just makes the tank like go really fast, and it's really useful for climbing kills and stuff, and you can really take those early positions with the top speed. The terrain resistances were not that bad. 8 degrees of gun depression. The tank is super tall, so you're not gonna have any problems with gun depression. The armor, however, is very lackluster. You do have 2.5k HP, but 2.5k HP nowadays in the world of heavy tanks is just simply not enough. Of course, we cannot talk about the camo values because they are non-existent, but as you can see, and I'm going to load normal ammunition, which is 250, which is very common at tier 10 and tier 9. You can see that at this angle, this is 80% pen, these shoulder plates, and they will only bounce when they are completely like angled, but in this case you will see the lower plate, and of course the lower plate can be bouncy, and especially the upper plate is also pretty good, 220mm and up to 300 effective, and this little strip also that baits a lot of people to shoot into it. As you can see the angle once here again. it's actually fairly well armored here. But when you load AP, the 280, which is not even that much, people are going to have much more pen at tier 10 if they're firing premium shells. You see that the whole lower plate is auto pen, and if you try to angle, and if the other AMX player tries to angle, then this whole part of the tank is going to become a 100% penetration chance. And that's very bad because, well, you are playing a heavy tank. Also, the tank is superior when you're playing it full. And as you can see that there are some spots here and there which can get penned. But overall, this mantlet is very strong. It can go up to all the way to 700 millimeters. And it also does have two cupolas, which sit very back in the turret, as you can see. They are fairly impossible to hit if the tank is facing you like this. And yeah, it's just you're not really gonna shoot those cupolas. You're gonna shoot this part most of the time. And also, if you are playing something with more caliber, you can see that the side, which by the way, this French design was taken from the German heavy tank design, and you can see that the side here, the underside is 40 millimeters effective, which means that when you're trying to side scrape, there will be some accidental shots from enemy TDs or enemy tanks with a higher caliber than 120 that will just automatically pan your side, and you will be able to do nothing about it. And this is really bad actually. The Tiger 2 and the E75 are suffering from the same problem, and you can see that this whole part here is just 100% chance, and especially you can also get tracked like this, and the armor is just garbage. And you can't really over angle because, as you can see, you have 60 millimeters on the side, and it's really bad. You can actually pan this with HE with I would say 95% of the tanks at tier 10. So yeah, the armor is very well, let's say it's non-existing, because once you angle like this, you're Gucci, but once you have to turn a little bit, you're already exposing these shoulder plates, which are very nasty. But let's actually check out the tank in the battles, and let's see what this tank is truly capable of. So guys, here we are playing on Karelia in our AMX M454 with the big gun, and the setup is, as I mentioned, HP, Turbo and Rammer, and the MM is tier 9 with a lot of TDs. But let's actually see what the mobility is capable of on this tank, and I really want to test it out because we want to get into the to the hill side very fast, and I'll speed this up a little bit in the beginning, but I'm going now downhill and we are reaching 49, 50, 51, 52 kilometers an hour, and that's really good because this tank can actually kind of match other heavy tanks' speed, and you even overtake the slower ones like the E100, the Escom Kajzoo, blah all that. But my goal in this game, as I saw that they don't have many tier 10 tanks that can seize the hill, I basically want to seize the hill for myself, and I will try to wreak havoc on their tanks on the K line. And let's see, you can see that the dispersion fully on the move is not good. But once you're fully aimed, you're not gonna have any problems, and you'll see this gun is actually fairly okay now. The enemy tanks actually peek, and the WoT A foolishly pushes out. He does not know yet what he has made as a mistake for him, and we actually have a bounce there, unfortunate. But you can see that our team is playing very passive on the other side, and I'm really hoping that these guys are not gonna overpush the hill, because if they do, well, that will be the end of this slide. And basically, you just want to get into a good position now to farm the WoT A, trying to get around the hill on this side, and you will see that the armor, when angled like this, will actually work really well. And boom, first shot, 5-2-1, meaty shot in there, a low roll. But as you can see, the tank is very maneuverable, and when you're angling down like this, and they're not shooting your shoulder plates, you will have really good armor against them. 590 hit on the WoT A, pretty meaty. 2 more shots and the WoT A is going to go down. The team is still camping on the north side, and another one in. He does not really want to move, but this is perfect scenario actually, because they cannot really pen me unless they aim for this little weak spot that I showed you, and basically they're just stationary sitting ducks, and I'm just hunting ducks here and dealing all the damage to them, and that's really good for us. And you can see that this SD1 doesn't really have a place to go, and they connect another meaty shot, 5-2-2. And these 5-frame rolls are really good. Like in World of Tanks, basically there's the golden rule that high alpha is almost always better than lower alpha. And because there's only 100 millimeters of difference between the 120 and the 130mm gun, it's almost like it's not even worth it to play that one over this, because if you want to play that gun, then it means that you will basically playing a verse E5 and a verse Eskong, because this tank is obviously not much worse than them. I actually got a unlucky pen in there, and Juanito 7 and his 777 is pushing up in there, and he's not really safe, but he doesn't know that yet. Quite a low roll again, putting him into, and it looks like he's actually pushing up once again. He does not realize the gravity of the situation, that I can just sit here and not really care about anything. Luckily, their medium tanks and all the light tanks are not really trying to flank us from behind, and that would actually be really bad because we do not have any kind of control. As you can see, the Manticore, who will be really annoying later on, and you will see. Wow, that is what I was actually talking about. You saw those little weak spots in the mantle that can get penned. Well, he actually hit one of those pixels and he penned me with the 340 heat shell that he has. And now it looks like that this side is kind of clear, but I want to see if there are more tanks here first behind the rock, and we don't spot anything, but the 705A gets spotted, and I will try to make my way back to the hill because the E4 also gets spotted behind us, and basically we have to kill the E4 first, otherwise he can make quick work of this Sharpshooter. As we do not have middle control, this E4 is not going to suffer any kind of damage from our team, because he is not going to be spotted unless I spot him, of course. And now we have a good timing. The ST1 is hiding behind the rock, and I'm using this timing and window to actually get away from there unspotted and surprise said E4 from behind. And let's see if that is going to work in our favor. Now the enemy line is kind of dwindling and they are losing tanks, and which means that there's also a fight on the 1-2 line, and it kind of opens up. We see the Leo PTA. Can I connect on him? We actually probably hit him, but the Leo PTA from our team shot him first because his shell is, I would say, even twice as fast as ours if he's shooting the premium rounds. And now I'm kind of hesitating a little bit. Where should I approach this E4 from? Should I kill this ST1? ST1 is not gonna peek. You know, when you always have these kind of windows in the game, you don't want to make a hasty decision. Rather think about your next move than walking to a bad situation. So for example, I was thinking, how should I pick this E4? Which angle should I take? And I know this rock from the left can sort of give us cover, but I would have to overpeak to shoot him. But if I overpeak, I'm gonna lose HP, but I still have 1600, so I can, even if a TD hits me, I think it will be a worth trade, and I'm just going to go fast here and surprise him in the back. Huge shot, 565 into his tank, and now he's going to be kind of out of position because he has to angle towards me and towards my base at the same time, and he decides that angling towards the base right now is more important. Another shot put into him. The Sharpshooter is clipping us, but if I angle towards him, he's not going to be penning our tank unless he's shooting heat ammunition into our side or shoulder places. You can see the Kunze also shoots us. I believe that was a heat shell. We already blocked 2.6k damage. As you can see, the armor is working, but it's only working because enemy tanks don't know where to hit this. And now that the E4 is kind of low and he's probably going to die, I'm making my way back towards the 705A, sticking to my original plan that I had, and I'm going to basically just go all in on him because, as you can see, most of the enemy tanks are spotted. There's only an E3 unspotted, and we know where the Sharpshooter is. The Sharpshooter is sitting on the base, and let's put the first shot into him. Once again, he had an unaimed shot. Our top armor easily makes good work of it and bounces, and we already put a meaty shot into him. We do have better DPM than him, but unfortunately I end up not penetrating that shot actually, which was really weird because I had a green pen marker as well. But those shots do happen, especially if you get a low roll on the shell, which is possible because one bad thing about this, as you can see, that it only has 280mm, as I have mentioned. 280mm of penetration is going to struggle against some of the tanks, but luckily it's AP, so the AP shells get good normalization, which helps with the angles that you hit the tanks from. And the E3 actually gets spotted. He's full HP 2.2k, and once again you can see that the mobility of this tank allows me to quickly accelerate up to 45 and make my way. Also, one thing that I noticed about this tank is that the turret turns extremely quick, almost unnaturally quick, and that's really good when there's just a cheeky light tank or a medium tank trying to flank you from the side or back, and you can really use that to your advantage. Now Now I'm trying to make my way towards the e3, but the e3 saw my approach and he knew that I was approaching directly in front of him. So now I have to come up with some alternative ideas, and what I came up with is try to flank him, but the Sharp Futur is probably sitting somewhere in the base here, and he actually does spot me out right about now. And this Manticore, guys, this Manticore is going to be so annoying. As you can see, he's in the middle, and we also have a CS in the middle. I believe the CS was full HP or healthy enough to actually push him out, but for some reason he didn't do it. That he might have been afraid, but I pinged him a couple of times, and eventually he might do it. Or once again, I have said this many times, try to communicate with your allies, try to say, now there's basically a shot coming in again from the Manticore because the E3's cupola actually spots me, because once again this tank is super tall and it's very hard to hide. But now I'm basically a one shot because of this 2 shots by the Manticore that I took, and it's really annoying because I wanted to push this E3 and not die in a single shot. Now I will need to have my teammate take the shot from me, and it looks like this E3 is actually playing quite aggressive, even though we have guys here, and he is basically just peeking, and we find a shot into his lower plate, 504, and I believe he is going to shoot now, or he has fired, and once again the Manticore shoots me again. Manticore already did 1.2k damage, and we pick up the E3 together with the 268. But this Manticore basically, and look at the amount of HP the enemy team has, 5000 damage. Now, I'm not sure how much HP the Emil 2 has, but I know the Char is unspotted, that means he's full HP. And this Manticore basically cost me so much damage in the end, 2-3k damage maybe even, because I can push the Char, the Kunze has a one shot, and the Manticore gets spotted, and it's time for sweet revenge, guys. Look at that shot. That shot, I mean, just insane. With this kind of velocity, and unfortunately, we had our revenge on the Manticore, but already picks us up as we did not have enough HP to survive. Once again, 4k damage remaining in enemy team. If I had at least a sliver of my HP left, it is very likely the Sharp Futur would have bounced us as he did on the hill, and we could have picked up some more shots, potentially putting us above 10k damage here. And that would have been really nice, but hey. Next few days, guys, I'm going to release so many good battles, and I actually mean it. You guys are going to love it. So please, if you enjoy these kind of videos, especially the World of Tanks A to Z series, click on the subscribe button, like the video. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. And one thing, at 5,000 subs, we are going to do something special. What are we going to do? I'm going to reveal it in the next video. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and see you soon. Have a nice day.